The Fate of Heroes, starring Patrick, Devin, Rob, Tamara, and John as the Game Master.
And welcome back to Fate of Heroes. And this week, we start off in a small bedroom on the south side of New Saint City. And it is a young girl who is wearing what appears to be cosplay, a blue and black costume, sort of like a superhero costume. She has a mask on, and she is young, a young teenager. She is standing in the middle of the room and is looking at some of the posters she has on the wall, including a poster of Lizzie, a poster of Lincoln, and a poster of Bronwyn, which looked to have been recently put up. She has characters of all of these people on her night table, and generally seems to be, I wouldn't say in love, but has an interest in our group, the Wardens. Runa, can you describe what your character would look like outside of the...
Yes, so I have brown shoulder-length hair, and I'm wearing it in a sassy ponytail.
Sassy.
Free bangs and all, so I can do the little hair flip, you know?
Nice.
It's teenagehood.
Yep.
And then blue hair, and it's kind of... Or blue hair. Whoa, I'm sorry. Blue eyes.
See, this is what happens when we talk about it beforehand.
I know. Obviously, I'm the sassy ponytail girl. Like, that's me.
Exactly.
And then it's clear that she's kind of more new to the whole makeup thing. It's on very thick and not very well blended.
Right.
And she goes for really dark lipstick colors.
Cool. All right. So as you're standing there, there is a... Suddenly, if you look at the door... Actually, let's do this. Well, this is a good way to kind of get you used to this process anyway. So if you look at your character... Okay, so if you bring up your character sheet, which you do by clicking on the character in the little newspaper icon. And then so in the character sheet, you have different approaches. The careful, clever, flashy, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Okay, so if you click the little dice by clever, so this is how we usually ask people to roll things. There we go. A 3 is a very good roll, by the way. That's the one thing with Fate. Low numbers aren't bad. It's when they're minus numbers that they're bad.
Okay.
So the reason why I had you roll clever is because you start to sense around you that the room is shifting a bit.
Okay.
You sense that sort of like the edge of the room seems a little ephemeral, if I said that word right, and kind of cloudy, I guess would be the word. And then you suddenly see a man standing at your doorway, and he's wearing a very... kind of a turban, not a turban, but like a getup where he has a pale robe on. He has a tunic on. It's open shirted. He has a large beard, and he looks kind of scraggly. And he is standing looking down at, well, what looks to be your floor. But around him, he's kind of hazy. It's almost like the old blue screen days when things were sort of like they couldn't really wash out the edges, so they just kind of made them a little hazy in the old movies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what you see at the moment. And
Okay.
what do you do?
Is this something I've experienced before?
No, this is the first time this has ever happened.
Okay. Well, do I know who this guy is?
No, you wouldn't recognize him, especially in this getup.
Okay. I would be a little freaked out. I would probably approach him to see if I could touch him, if he's actually there, or if it's some sort of vision.
Mm-hmm. As you get closer to him, you see him suddenly look up and stare at you, and his eyes go wide.
So he can see me.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Okay. I'm gonna try talking to him.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna ask. I want to ask him if he can see me.
He looks at you as you're talking. You see that he's squints a bit, like he's trying to read what you're saying. But when he kind of tries to talk back, you don't hear anything, but you can kind of see him kind of do like a hello.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to... Do I have any paper lying around?
Yeah. Over on your nightstand, probably?
Yes. Okay, I want to grab my
old-fashioned
paper.
like that? You know?
Yeah, of course. I take notes. I'm an organized person.
That's right.
So
yeah.
I'm going to go to my organization table and grab my notebook and a pencil, and I want to write him a note.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, I want to write... hi.
You show him that, I assume, and he kind of half waves at you.
Okay, progress. I want to write, do you have a way to communicate?
He looks at you and kind of shakes confusedly around, and you can kind of see that he is trying to figure out where he is. And he kind of starts to fade as you're trying to figure this out.
Okay.
And he basically blinks out of existence as far as you're concerned.
No.
And the door comes back and the wall firms up again, and that's all you get from that.
Okay. I know my backstory so well. Do I have parents?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, I think I'd go tell my parents.
Yeah, okay. So you run off to tell your parents. They will immediately start to question you about the situation, trying to get an idea of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, when you're that young of a teenager, parents aren't necessarily going to believe you straight off, but they do sort of well, put it this way, in New Saint City, you don't take anything for granted. And so they begin to question you in further detail. As that happens, we will end that particular flashback, and we will move on.
Mm-hmm.
About a year later, like when I say move on, we're moving on.
You mean it.
Yeah. You are now living in a very different location. Your family now lives on an island out in the South Pacific. It is very much a very isolated island. In times past, it wouldn't even have had like even plumbing might have been an issue. at one time. Now it is a very modern area with a modern sort of facility. There are, whoop, that didn't do what I was planning. There is probably, I'd say, about 10,000 people living on this small island. Your life has changed dramatically. You're more like a refugee at this stage. The things that have been going on have gotten worse and worse, and you have had to move. At this point, you know that you are one of those who has the xenogene. Xenogene is the equivalent to the mutant gene in X-Men.
Okay.
And what it's called here is xenogenesis. Basically, it's when a gene that isn't normal mutates and creates something completely different. It doesn't really exist in an evolutionary standpoint, but from a fictional standpoint, it does. And in this case, it is caused by alien DNA, which has entered into the human bloodstream. And when it gets activated, it then creates powers. And so as you are one of those with powers, that is the discussion that eventually ends up becoming obvious. You were brought to this island. This island has a lot of people with powers on it. You are not alone. Your parents have come with you. And you know that the head of the island is working with the president in trying to keep this part of the world secure from those that are trying to harm the world. And you would know the name of the person is Eris.
Okay.
And I don't know if you know your Greek mythology, but Eris is the god of discord. So, okay.
Not to be confused with the application.
Yeah, not to be confused with the application. That's right. All right. So once again, you are in a bedroom. I don't know why these always seem to occur here, but there we are. It is a much smaller room. It is much more compact, much more rudimentary.
I lost my closet.
You did. You lost your closet. You gained a bathroom, though, so there you go.
Yeah.
And it is very dorm room looking, I would say, sort of like a college dorm. Okay. And so you have sort of a self-contained environment. You have a roommate who is also has powers. She is older than you. She's probably in her late teens now, maybe 18, 19, well, probably 19 now. And she can, you know that she can actually grow. She's the daughter of the head of the island. Her name is Veronica. And she can, her powers basically mean that she can grow to be about 50 feet tall.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what she can do.
She really grows.
Yeah, she really grows. And she was actually in a fight with the wardens, as they're called, fighting some people a couple of years back. And so she has experience and has been used in the past to help try and defeat baddies across the world. And in fact, she has a partner that she works with who is kind of shadowy looking and is kind of able to teleport people anywhere he wants to teleport them to if he's seen the place before. So he's very mysterious looking, but, you know, he's generally, once you get to know him, kind of an okay person. But I should probably bring her. There's a good idea. So where do I have her?
So have I had any experience? Like, she's had experience, but I haven't.
No, not really. No. You don't even still, and this is the problem. Right now, you don't even know what your powers are.
Okay.
They're very vague still. And that's part of the problem. Because, yeah, that's her. By the way, that's your roommate.
Nice.
And so they're very vague. The only thing you've had is this vision of this interactive person. And nothing really has happened since then. In the process, since this has all happened, you've got to know some of the medical staff that they have around here. They have someone by the name of Zoe, who is a doctor who has worked for the lab which works with all of these people called the YBC Labs. It's out of New Saint City. And she has been sort of in charge of your case file. So she comes she lives on the island as well, but she kind of travels back and forth between the island and New Saint City. And so she's kind of talked to you in the past about it. But up until today, your powers have not happened. This particular part of your powers hasn't happened again. So for about the last year, it has remained dormant. So Veronica is standing there as we bring the scene up again, and she looks over to you and says, "Emma, do you need anything? I'm going to go find some food."
No, I'm good.
Okay, I will bring something back if you need it. Junk food, even.
I'll take some junk food.
All right, I will find you something.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Later.
Be safe.
She smiles at that and says, "You know me. I just beat them up if they cause trouble." And she walks out the door, and she's not like hulking, but she has sort of that UFC fighter build. Mm-hmm. So she definitely can hold her weight even at normal size. But even normal size, she's like 6 foot tall. So she's a very tall woman. But she smiles at you. She's super friendly. Like, that is one thing that's very clear. And she talks very animatedly about Lincoln and CJ all the time. She's met them and had discussions with them and has been sort of a friend of theirs. And she always talks about how it's sad that they were lost in the spaceship explosion a couple of years ago. And this would be something you would know as well. And so it's something that you know that she is very worked up over on occasion.
Okay.
So as she walks away and the door closes, once again your head starts to swim a bit, and it feels like now you're standing on a ship. And it's a very long ship with oars and on both sides, but it's all enclosed, like where the people are rowing is actually enclosed. You can't see them. You're standing on the deck, and in front of you is a young Chinese man. He is sitting staring off at the water, and you know that that's CJ.
Okay.
So he's one of the wardens.
Okay.
But you can't see anything else. You can only you see the ship, you can see the water, but you can't see any other people except for him.
Okay.
And he's sort of drifting in and out of what looks to be sleep, basically.
Aw. Is he okay? Like, do I feel like he's okay? Like, does he need help?
You can kind of notice that he looks halfway between bemused and bored and a little bit irritated.
Okay. Does he seem to be able to see me like the other guy?
He hasn't seen you yet. He's kind of got his back to you.
Okay.
I mean, you can see his face, but it's obvious he's not really looking at you. He seems to be staring out at the back of the boat at the water.
Okay. I want to approach him and see if I can get his attention.
Okay. So as you walk up to him, you can kind of see him smiling. He bursts into a bit of a smile, and then just kind of looks up at you.
Okay. So, I want to ask, were you expecting me? Because that's kind of an interesting reaction.
You see him say, well, you can actually hear this. And he says, "Lincoln, you gotta push harder, fool."
Okay, so it's not me he's looking at.
That's right.
Okay. I
And
want to see if
Mhm.
if I can get him to be able to see me.
Okay. So what are you going to do? Because he's going to walk straight through you.
I am gonna dance around.
Okay. So what I want you to do is roll. We'll go through another roll again. And this time we'll do. Let's see if we can do a. Clever seems to be a good choice, but I think we'll take a different pick. How about flashy? Oh, that's your worst one. Try flashy anyway.
Okay.
This seems
all
an
right,
appropriate roll. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
man.
okay. Well, yeah, -4s don't generally bode well. So you try and dance around to get his attention. He ignores you. He goes and you can see him sort of laughing at something off in the distance, behind the boat. And then you can actually see that the boat is moving faster than the oars can move it. But you can't see why.
Okay. I guess I'm just gonna observe and try to figure out what's going on in this scene here
Okay.
that I'm witnessing.
You see CJ kind of walk around. You see him talk to a couple of different people. He hesitates and looks at what looks to be a very elaborate tent that's set up in the middle of the boat. And you see him enter that tent.
Okay. I'm gonna follow him into the tent.
Okay. As you walk into the tent, you see he is standing in front of a woman. She is very elaborately dressed in what is obviously Egyptian garb. She has, her face is almost glowing. And you can tell she's talking, at least initially, in kind of a haughty projection of her voice, in the fact that as you listen to the conversation, I mean, she does kind of mellow out into normal talk, but for the first little bit, it feels like she's talking like she is a crown, like a queen or something. And as you listen to the conversation, they're talking about the fact that they're headed towards a town in the south to rescue some prince.
Okay. I guess I'm just gonna keep paying attention to what they're talking about, see if I can figure out like what time frame this is taking place. Like, are there any like signs for me to know if this is like now or if this is like old?
Well, you're gathering that this is like thousands of years ago by the conversation, because the lady doesn't talk in any way like a normal human would now. And you can see there's no phones, there's no technology really above like spears and swords and things like that. But they're all sort of bronze. There is no steel, no iron, none of that.
Okay.
A lot of gold too, to be fair.
Okay, so long time ago.
Indeed. And everybody's dressed very much like that. Like they're all in like, open shirts, linen, silks, all that kind of stuff. So it's very, well, not silk, but linen and very fine cotton type clothing. Or wool, I guess, not cotton. Again, something that doesn't exist at this point. And effectively they are, yeah, I mean, you know you're in oldie times. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
And after that conversation, CJ turns around, walks out. You see the woman sort of deflate, and she looks nervous and kind of scared.
Okay.
So you can tell she's putting on a big presentation, but she is not as puffed up as she seems. And the other thing you notice is that when they're talking, you hear them talk about Anua, and CJ accuses her of being one of them.
Okay. Do I know what that is?
You will know, because of what happened a couple of years previous, that the Anua are an alien species who came to Earth and were the reason why the xenogene is in humanity.
Okay.
You don't know much beyond that because there hasn't been lots of discussion about it publicly.
Right. Okay.
But certain things have been revealed because, well, it's kind of obvious that things aren't normal.
Fair enough. Okay.
There was the small issue of a spaceship that landed on the beach at in New Saint City, and the fight that it had with an alien race that invaded called the Nurgle. So yeah,
just a small
little issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that much you hear.
Okay.
She then lays down and looks like she's gone to sleep.
Okay. So I guess I'll follow the guy because I can't get any more information from her. She's sleeping.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be a little nervous about it. Like, I'm worried that they're going to be able to see me suddenly. So I'm going to try to be sneaking around.
Fair enough. And you, as you walk out, as you try and touch like the edge of the tent or whatever to sneak out, you realize that your hand goes through it.
Okay.
And you can actually walk through the wall of the tent.
Ooh.
And yet it feels like you're on like solid ground. It's just that everything else is kind of ghostly.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's weird because even though this boat is moving and there's obviously other people here, you've only seen a couple.
Right.
And CJ is back sitting down. He is smiling to himself as he kind of tosses rocks out the back. And you can hear him shouting, "Doc Lincoln!" And he throws one. And he throws another. And you kind of feel the boat kind of shake side to side a bit, as if there's something trying to avoid being hit by these rocks. And you can hear CJ laughing at some sort of response that he's getting. And eventually he kind of stops doing that, puts his feet down off the deck of the ship, and kind of whistles to himself for a bit. As he does that, you can see what looks to almost be another ghostly apparition come out from him. He is wearing basically an old-timey kind of night shirt that goes down to his knees, and then like a little bedtime hat, and he's got a popsicle in his mouth, or not a popsicle, a popsicle in his mouth, and he looks up at you and waves at you.
Okay, but so he came from
out of CJ.
Okay. That's weird.
And as that happens, CJ falls to sleep and kind of lays back on the deck.
So is this like mini CJ?
It's like a little kid, basically. He looks like he's about 10 years old.
Okay.
And he takes the popsicle out of his mouth and he looks at you and he says, "Hey, who are you? What body are you in?"
I'm in my own body, I think.
Oh. What's your name?
You go first.
He smiles and kind of giggles a bit, and he says, "My name's Saif." You also get the impression that every once in a while his hair will go kind of purple, and his skin kind of goes a pale, almost translucent white, and then zips back into what looks like a kind of a little bit like a CJ clone.
Whose body are you in?
Oh, he looks down and he points. And he says, "I'm in this clown's body because if I didn't, I'd be dead."
Was he pointing at CJ?
Yeah.
Why would you be dead?
Well, long story, but let me just put it this way. My crew and I went through a black hole, and I ended up here, and the crazy colored-haired lady and I got here, and I didn't come with my body, really. So this is about the only way I can survive, at least until I can get enough energy built back up again.
Your crew, aren't you like 10?
Oh, no. This is just the image I portrayed the last time I was in my physical self.
Okay.
And you see him kind of shift, and he becomes an older, probably about 20-year-old man. And he has long, dark purple hair. He is pale white skin. Like, actually looks like not our version of Caucasian, but actually like white. And he looks at you and said, "This is what I usually look like, but I can be anything I want. What about you?"
This is pretty much me.
He smiles and he goes, "What's your name?"
I'm Emma.
Ah, cool. Emma. That's a cool name. I think, wasn't, I think, didn't, I think Alex mentioned something about an Emma. Or did he? I don't know. There was something about some lady he saw once. Kind of looked like you.
What does Alex look like?
Oh, he's kind of gruff-looking, beardy guy. Because he spent 9 months hanging out in Babylon before we found him.
I want to describe like the first guy I saw. See if it's him.
He goes, you kind of see him get excited. Yeah, that's him. He's a grumpy person. He misses his brother, blah, blah, blah. Sob story, angst, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
Yeah. Me, I'm from a different planet myself.
So is he one of the aliens?
You mean Anua?
Yes.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yeah, as in I am an Anua, but I've never been to this world until I found CJ.
Okay.
My family came from a different planet.
This person is telling me a lot of information, and I've given them like nothing, and
Mhm.
I don't entirely trust that.
He kind of seems very much a ho-hum sort of, whatever. Mostly because he figures, you can get the impression off of him that he seems like, it's not that he's trusting, it's that he's more blasé about what he tells people, who are kind of doing the same thing he's doing, especially. So he gets the impression that you obviously have something mystical and weird about you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask if he can get in, if he can still talk to Alex. Like, are they still communicating?
Yeah, kinda, but I need this guy to do it. He points down at CJ.
Okay, because he couldn't hear me.
Yeah, well, yeah, sometimes they don't. You kind of have to focus, I would say.
Focus.
Yeah, that would be my thought. I mean, when I have to exit his body, it's kind of tiring. So I don't spend a lot of time out here. This is just kind of a weird special case because I saw you as CJ fell asleep and was like, "Hey, what's going on? Who's this person? Why is she here? Why does she look all weird and mysterious? And why is she standing around in clothes that don't look right for this era?"
I don't have any of those answers because I have no idea what's going on with me.
So you're not from Egypt, is what you're telling me?
No.
Okay. And you're not from this time period, would be my guess.
No.
Okay. Well, that clears some things up. Well, CJ might be able to help you. I don't know if he'll see you, though. I can try prodding him, but if you want to give me a hand.
Okay.
All right. And Saif walks over to CJ, and you kind of see him kind of lay back down. And the very last thing you see him do as he comes back into CJ's face is he puts the popsicle back in his mouth, and then he disappears back into CJ. And he also shrunk down, so he's back to being this little 10-year-old kid. And he then disappears, and you see CJ kind of, his eyes kind of drift open and closed, and then open and closed. But he doesn't seem to be quite waking up yet.
Okay. And I can't interact with anything because, like, my hand just goes right through it.
Well, you've only found out that you can walk through a wall. You don't know if you can touch them or not.
Are there any objects around that I could try to
I mean, like, there's the water. There...
manipulate?
What's that?
I want to try to splash him.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's like what looks to be a cup nearby.
Okay.
So
I would take the cup and splash him.
okay, and he kind of, instead of waking up like a jolt, he wakes up like kind of his eyes come open like he's had sort of a pleasant dream, and he sits up and he looks up at you, and he's like, "Who are what?" And as he does, you can see that he's focused on you this time.
Okay, I'm relieved that he can see me, and I introduce myself.
And he, again, doesn't seem to hear you.
But he can see me.
Yes, but he can definitely see you.
Oh, and this was forever ago, so there's like nothing for me to write on or anything.
Nope, Papyrus ain't here. As you're stumbling around looking for a paper and pen to write on, you hear an alarm go off. And you can hear a voice saying, "We're under attack!"
Okay. Do I recognize the voice?
It sounds like the head of the island.
I'm gonna try to force myself out of this dream or whatever I'm in.
Okay. So, as you do, you are back in the bedroom. And you hear an alarm going off. And you hear all sorts of craziness happening. And Veronica runs back into the room. She says, "You need to get down to the shelter now."
Okay. I'm going to listen to her.
Okay, she grabs your hand and you guys run off. We snap into the future. We find Jacob sitting by himself, alone in his apartment. It is several years in the distant future when he hears a knock at his door. He looks up from his reading, adjusts his tablet and sets it on the counter, tells his automated system to turn off the music, and walks towards the door. As he opens the door, he finds an old gentleman with a wizened beard and a sharp intellect standing there. Jacob looks at him and says, "What are you doing here, Grandpa?"
Jacob. It's been a while.
"Indeed, I thought we got rid of you recently." He smiles.
You'll never be rid of me, Jacob. I'm like an old broken tooth.
"Indeed. You sent my sister away not long back."
It was for her own good, Jacob. I need to protect her. Otherwise
Yes.
she would be in jail again.
I'm aware. I know. I was there. I remember. I might not have been out of the body, but I remember what happened. And this is when she came and pushed her into that stupid portal. I remember only too well. Anyway, what brings you here now?
Well, if you remember things that happened when you were bound to your sister, perhaps you remember long ago when you were trapped in the past.
Yeah. It's
Do
been
you
a while.
remember my younger self getting a journal from me?
Of course I remember that. There's that weird, strange language that you wrote it in.
A mixture of Klingon and some other languages, but yes.
Klingon. Okay. So, what do you want from me?
So Rasputin puts a hand into his coat, and he pulls out the same book.
Jacob looks at it. His eyes go a little wide. He looks up at you, and he puts his hand out for it.
So Rasputin goes to place it in his hands, but just before he takes it, he pulls it back again. Jacob, this is a very important mission.
It always is.
I know. But this is about maintaining the timeline, which is one of the most important things.
Yeah.
The changes I make sure that there is no consequence.
No consequences. No consequences. I seem to remember there was some rather significant ones last time.
No significant consequences to us.
Fine. What do you want me to do?
The issue is that if this journal is not given to my younger self, we will again be trapped in the past.
So how do I give
none of this having ever happened?
So how do I give it to my younger self without me seeing me? Because me will know who me is.
Yes, I remember. What we will have to do, there is a shaman, a mystical man in Pompeii. Someone that can be trusted. We must leave the book. Well, you must leave the book with him.
You mean the soothsayer?
The soothsayer, yes.
That insane woman.
Insane is a little harsh, but yes.
And how am I supposed to get it to her?
Well, that's where your Grandpa Raspi comes. I'm no longer some amateur. I've had a lot of time to develop my powers, Jacob. You know how accurate I can be.
Yes, I'm fully aware. I remember that trip to Canada not long back. Freaking stupid, rowboaty French fur traders. Anyway, what? What is it?
What is what?
Well, you said you've thought about it. You're good at it. So what do you want me to do? Do you want me to go back to Pompeii myself?
That's the idea. But no, wait. That girl. Yes. No. Do you remember, I used to call her Ghost Girl. Emma.
Yeah, I remember Emma.
I think it would be best if you gave the journal to her and convinced her to go. I could not go myself because I am being watched, as you know, by Zoe and her friends. And I do not want you to go because we will have the same issue. If she realizes you are gone, she will come look to me first.
This is about that time with the Rose people, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good grief. Okay. All right. Fine. I remember there was that celebration. We became king or queen or something. So, is Emma supposed to give it to her?
Yes.
Or to this,
Emma will give it to the soothsayer. Not
right.
Directly.
Okay. So, you want me to give this book to her to have her go back into the past? So I'm going to have to draw a portal?
No, you won't have to. I will... Emma's powers can allow her to travel back in sort of an astral form. What I can do is to use my powers to help her take on a physical form in the past.
Oh, okay. And you're going to do that how? You got a crayon or something I can use?
Yes, hold on. And he starts patting his pockets, and he's like, you know how they search me whenever I go upstairs. But
Yeah, I kind of know something about that. And he kind of lifts up this watch-looking thing and says, see?
I managed to smuggle in, and he takes off a shoe, and he like turns it so that the soul comes out,
Mm-hmm.
and inside there's a magic marker. This magic marker.
Interesting. Okay.
Purple, of course.
As always. And he takes it from you and says, so I guess this means I gotta go back in time. Yay.
Just like the movie,
Back
Back to the Future.
Yes, I'm fully and completely aware. Mom plays it for me occasionally because she finds it hilarious. And, yeah, she would. Your daughter, of course. And he looks you up and down and says, is this it? I don't have to do anything else weird?
Not today. This is it.
Good. Let's keep it that way.
I can't promise that a future me won't come back and ask you to do something today, but for me, no.
I'm really, really, really crossing my fingers now that I'm not talking to a future you. I'm going to beat you to a pulp. Until next time, Grampy. Say hi to Sis when you see her next.
Oh, I will. Good luck, Jacob.
Mhm.
And remember, very important that this gets done.
Yes, sir. I will make sure it gets done, and I'll make sure she does what she's told. I'll be all nice about it. You know, unlike that incident a couple of years ago.
So then, Rasputin smiles at that. Jacob, I'm hurt. When have I ever steered you wrong?
Grampy, you and I both know I get your tendency to be mischievous. So let's not even try that, shall we? You know Doc's still trying to find me. Even though he's not even in this present, he's still trying to find me.
Well, I mean, Doc has his own problems.
Yeah, he does. He's obsessive. I'm in his lab.
You know which one I've always liked? Spencer.
Oh, who cares? I don't care about the others. I just don't want the dude that's trying to put me in a lab catching up to me. And one of these times, you know, he's going to do it. You better get me out if he ever does.
Well, I mean, Jacob, that's the benefit of being a time manipulator. I can get you out before you even get into the lab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who was it who got lost in time? I think it was you.
That was when I was very young and did not know how to use my powers.
Uh-huh. And you what, sneezed or something and then went back to Mesopotamia?
Didn't sneeze, Jacob. I had a brain tumor.
He smiles and laughs. I know. I'm just teasing, Grampy. All right,
Well,
I'll go do what you ask, and maybe we can hang out next week.
Sure. And don't worry about Doc. I've stolen things from his lab before. Why do you think he doesn't have any blood samples or tissue samples from me? He takes them all the time, and I take them back. It's something we do.
Probably for the best. I mean, it was his fault that we started running in the first place.
True.
Anyway, all right. And Jacob looks at you one more time, says, I guess no time like the present or the past or the future. And he walks over to a wall, draws a rectangle on the wall. It then opens up a portal and he steps through it. And as he steps through, he wags his finger back at you and says, don't forget to tell Leelui she should call me.
I'll tell her to expect a phone call from you anytime. Anytime. And as he's like going into the portal, Rasputin starts walking away and he starts singing the "Gonna go back in time."
Oh no. And Jacob, you hear a massive sigh come from the portal as he goes through. All right, so as we do with everyone, Runa, would you like to tell people where they can find you online?
Yes, you can find me on Twitch as Runa Gem or on YouTube as Runa Gem. I do Minecraft content primarily, but just random gaming videos, really.
And Twitter.
Yes, Twitter, but it's Gem Runa there because I am a complicated soul.
And all right, so now you guys have met Emma. So until next time, everyone, take care. Have a good day, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.
This has been a Distractions Media production. For more information, you can check out everything we do at distractionsmedia.com.